Okay, and so now let's focus on that confusing question that I ended last lecture with. What does it mean that heaven and hell can work retroactively? And what does it mean that these states can change our experience of life as a whole? Well, Lewis's character says that aren't both of these things in the imagination? Hell is a state of mind, says George MacDonald. And every state of mind left to itself, every shutting up of the creature within the dungeon of its own mind is, in the end, hell. Heaven is not a state of mind. Heaven is, like I have always said in class, heaven is reality itself. All that is fully real is heavenly. For all that can be shaken will be shaken, and only the unshakable remains. I think that's beautifully poetic, but um, what does that mean? It means that if you're in hell, then every single moment of your entire life on earth and in hell will always have seemed just that. It will have seemed hellish. Hell works retroactively because you're caught up in your own mind. So you're not, nothing good will ever happen. Nothing good can ever be changed, can ever be healed if you live in hell. If you live in heaven, then you'll recognize that every single place in your entire life was a step along the way towards reaching the place, the state that you're in now, and you'll be able to see the real presence of God with you every step of the way of your entire life and your journey to be with Him in paradise. That's kind of what that's supposed to say. It's not a state of mind, it's that reality itself works backwards. Think about if you take a clear cup of water and then you pour some food dye into it. What happens with that food dye? Well, it is food dye and it's colored the way that it is, but it'll eventually diffuse to the entire cup, making that entire cup colored by that one liquid. Is it diluted? Sure, but that's why it's like that and not exactly that. What is this trying to say? It's trying to say that that reality that you're experiencing, that food color that you're experiencing as it's dropped into the water cup that is your entire life and your experience in eternity will be colored by the reality that is changing you. And in the end, your entire life will be colored by absolute reality. Your entire life will be colored by that absolute reality. Now, these confusing things, one might ask, well, if everything could be heavenly, why in the world would we choose anything other than that? Well, let's look on to the third to last paragraph. Some are no doubt. The sensualist, I'll allow you, begins by pursuing a real pleasure. So, what is he describing in this paragraph? Well, he's saying that people will desire the means and not the end. We'll look more at this on the last page of our lecture today, but I want you to think about these terms, means and end. Think if you've ever heard them throughout our course. Sorry, second period, you might not have heard this too much, but think about if anybody, particularly a guy named Bishop Robert Barron, might have said anything about means and ends and how he might have talked about that, especially in relation to, I don't know, things like baseball or things that are useful or something. Anyway, I leave that for you to think about as we prepare for our last lecture for today.